If your home still feels messy after spring cleaning, you are probably making one of these mistakes. Hi, I'm Maya. I make videos about responsible design, conscious consumption, and sustainable lifestyle. And today I want to help you make your space feel clean, light, and mess-free for the upcoming spring. People often confuse cleaning with decluttering, and I believe spring cleaning should consist of the two. When you clean, you are reducing the dirt and filth. And when you are decluttering, you are reducing the amount of objects and the amount of stuff that you are probably not using, but still they are creating the feeling of mess. This is one of the things that makes you feel heavy in a space, and that is overwhelming. That can create a mess in your mind as well as in your space. When it comes to decluttering itself, there are also some things that people do that is impacting negatively the whole process, and that leaves them with this heaviness. Even though they think they have decluttered, the result isn't what they have expected. The first mistake connected with decluttering is decluttering without considering the reality. Many people buy things that later they don't use just because they imagine this lifestyle, or they like something in the store but later they don't use it. The truth is that the objects in your home should work for the real you, not the ideal you or the you that you have imagined, and it's not even ideal. Of course, if you have some goals that you want to achieve and you need these objects to achieve them, then leave it. But leave them so that you can see them and that they can remind you to actually achieve these goals. If not, it doesn't happen in a month or so, then get rid of them, because they will only invoke negative feelings in you, the feeling of shame or the pressure of doing something. Sometimes we set goals that aren't actually what we want to do, but that we think that we should do. And the same goes to objects in our homes. Sometimes we have stuff that just lay there and aren't really beneficial for us, that sometimes, as I said, can revoke the feeling of shame. So you don't really need those objects in your space. And when you are decluttering, I believe it's really important to think realistically, not ideally, especially when your ideal vision isn't really thought out and is more often a should, not a want. If you find yourself in this type of situation, then give yourself some grace. If this is really something that you think you will be using, give yourself a month and use it. If not, then declutter it. The second mistake that people make, and actually I'm also guilty of this one, is thinking of decluttering as the last step. And actually, after decluttering, you have to do something with those things. So many times I had piles of objects that I have decluttered, but they were still in my home because I didn't get rid of them. I didn't make the next step. Here, I always encourage people to sell declutter stuff if they are in good condition, because it's more responsible, it's more sustainable for our planet, but also it gives you some money back from what you had, can be beneficial for you. It often takes longer, and this is why the piles of objects to sell lie around. My way to deal with it is to find space dedicated for objects that I'm selling and keep it organized so that it doesn't create more clutter and more mess. And if you are donating something, throwing out some things that can't be sold or donated, then don't put it off in time. Do it as soon as possible so that it doesn't lie around and creates this mess. Next mistake that is pretty popular is over-organizing the mess. It's when you don't declutter, or when you don't declutter enough and you hide the mess inside the shelves and you have too many stuff, but they are hidden so you don't think about it. But actually, you still think about it and it creates a mess in your head. It's harder to notice because it's not as obvious and it's not that something that you see first first thing when you come into the room, but it still affects you in the space that you are living in. Each time that you open a drawer that has too many stuff, it still will affect you. But then it's more of a mental clutter, not the clutter that you can see. The opposite mistake is forgetting about the high impact areas while cleaning and decluttering. The entryway, which you see right away, and it's the first thing that you see, but often it's not actually a room. So if you are cleaning room by room, it's easy to miss it. The other thing are surfaces. If you want to feel cleaner and lighter, and if you want your space to feel more spacious, less heavy, then it's really important to have clean surfaces that aren't covered with clutter. Maybe you have a lot of decor pieces that aren't really serving you, that don't really have a function, and they are just collecting dust and don't bring you joy after a time. Then I think it's important to be mindful of these types of things. Maybe get rid of them, maybe declutter them, maybe take them out only for those colder months when you actually want to feel heavier and cozier and you actually want more things in your space. But when it's a springtime and when you want a true refresh of your space, I think it's good to leave some surfaces empty and clean. Maybe you are decluttering and maybe you are spending tons of time on deep cleaning, but maybe you are forgetting about the daily maintenance. With the amount of cleaning in the spring cleaning routine, we often forget about the daily tasks and the daily stuff we should do. Maybe your home is clean and you have decluttered, but it still feels heavy. This actually can be due to design choices that you have in your space. If you have too much furniture or if your space is filled with darker colors, it will visually feel heavy. This is just the rule of design that you don't have power over. The only thing that you can do is rearrange some furniture, maybe switch things up, add some brighter objects or paint over something. But yeah, maybe you can have fewer furniture pieces in your space, or maybe you can have brighter ones. Or if you like dark tones, maybe it actually isn't a problem that your space feels heavy. Sometimes other small actions can impact our spaces. I have recorded a video on small tweaks that you can do to refresh your space, like bringing in the light or including some movement. So if you are interested in this topic, you can watch this video next. I want to add that if you are making these mistakes, it's really easy to avoid them. You just have to be mindful of them and acknowledge them. And I want to remind you that after deep clean and after declutter, it's also important to maintain the fresh home, and it's easier to do a few smaller tasks in a day or in a week than then have a huge mess to clean. So actually, I believe it's easier to maintain a clean home than to create a clean home. If you were making any of these mistakes, please let me know in the comments. If this video was helpful, then make sure to like if you have enjoyed it, and if you want to see more from me, then subscribe, and I will see you next. Bye!